afternoon to all. We welcome you here to our a series of events we're going to be having, a three-part series. And so we welcome you here today. You can feel free to share this broadcast, share it with a friend, share it with a family member. You know, just invite someone on this platform. Again, we are grateful and thankful to God for every single one of you that are going to join us here today. One of the things that we are going to be dealing with, and our theme for this time, is restoring the hearts of the fathers back to the sons, and the hearts of the sons to the fathers. Because when we look at our society today, when we look out the window of our society, there's a number of things that we can say. We are terrified. We are terrified by what we see, primarily, especially with our young people. The acts of violence that are being committed, which literally makes our blood, or permits our blood to run cold, you know. And our immediate response sometimes is, what is going on, you know? Our immediate response as a God-fearing country sometimes is just anger. Sometimes it's we develop a distaste for what's happening, what's going on. You know, we say, look at them. We have all kinds of things to say. Look at them. Throw away the key at them. Look at and so we look at the prison van, waiting for them, waiting to take them to the primary or prescribed location according to your heart. They take them to the location, which is indeed to the prison. But today, I want to ask you a few questions today that might make you uncomfortable, or make every single one of us who are viewing this broadcast, and even those of us who are doing this broadcast, which would have us feel very uncomfortable. If you saw a motor vehicle, or you were to see a motor vehicle speeding down the highway at 100 miles an hour, and it crashed in or through a barrier, you know, what would you say first and foremost? Would you say that the driver was reckless? But what if you looked closer and realized that the car left the factory completely missing its brake system, or the person who worked on the brake system did not do a proper job at it? So God designs the human brain to grow from the back to the front. The emotional engine, the accelerator that feels rage, panic, and impulse. If fully nurtured, or if fully mature, by the time a child is a teenager, but the mental brakes, the prefrontal, am I right? Cortex right behind the forehead that says stop, calculate the consequences, feel empathy, is not fully wired by God until a person reaches the age of 25. When a young man is 22 years old, his mental brakes are already under construction. But if you take that same boy at the age of 10, his father abandons the home, and he is subjected to severe, repeated beatings. You haven't just given him a hard child, though you have not given him you haven't just given him a hard child. Through the dynamic system of development, you have physically shattered his braking system. His conscience freezes at the age of the trauma. So when he looked at So when we look at the young man standing in the prison van today at 22, we are looking at a tragedy, not because we excuse his crime. Justice must be served, and we all know that justice must be served. But because he has been trapped in a mental prison van since he was 10 years old, if we as the church and the community keep waiting until these boys are 22 to step in, we are missing the brakes. We have to heal the 10-year-olds today, we must heal them. They must be healed, or we will keep burying the citizens tomorrow. And so it's important. How does that hit you? It's important to know how it hits you. Again, we can tweak the words, adjust the rhythm, or make it sharper depending on your personal speaking style. Again, we look at tonight how we are going to address the events of our lives, especially in this nation. How are we going to address the events of crime, violence, aggression, abuse, and so forth? And so today I have with me some special guests. Again, our theme is restoring the hearts of the fathers back to the sons, and the hearts of the sons back to the fathers. So today I have some special guests with me. To my far left, I have Miss Melissa Alexander James. Again, she is a licensed social worker specializing in community and health. She has experience supporting individuals and families facing a range of health and social challenges, and is committed to promoting well-being through personal-centered and community-based approaches. She is also very passionate about mental health and the elderly care, and you know, this is one of my love and one of my passions. Her mission is to advocate for the holistic mental health and well-being by encouraging healthy lifestyle practices, strengthening community support, and connecting individuals with the services and resources they need to thrive. She is driven by a desire to address the root causes of challenges rather than simply dealing with the symptoms, helping individuals build sustainable pathways to wellness and independence. She believes in nurturing the whole person, recognizing that physical, intellectual, emotional, and social and also spiritual well-being are interconnected and must be balanced to achieve a fulfilling and healthy life. So we deal with she likes to deal with the holistic individual. Also, I have with me Pastor. I have with me Pastor Clement Edward. And Pastor Clement Edward is a dedicated and highly accomplished minister of God, social work, clinical counseling, and educator with an extensive background serving communities across St. Lucia, the Caribbean, and North America. With a master's in social work from the University of the West Indies, he brings a wealth of experience in demand reduction, mediation, and social services administrations, having held senior leadership roles within both governmental and non-governmental organizations, namely Chairman, National Community for the Prevention of Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, NCPAD, St. Lucia. A warm and friendly advocate for community development, Pastor Edwards combines his passion for evangelism with a deep commitment to social work and youth leadership, consistently striving to empower others through his service, research, and recognized counseling expertise. So again, they are going to introduce themselves. Also, I have with me a co-host, Adrienne Cheryl Emmanuel Dubois. I hope I pronounced that right. She's a dedicated solution professional whose diverse career spans management, community development, and social advocacy, armed with an executive MBA and a rich background ranging from project management and construction technology to counseling and health studies. Adrienne has consistently championed the growth of both people and local institutions. As a founding member of Design to Transform Lives and a former International Community Development Fellow, she channels her extensive experience into fostering meaningful social impact warm, collaborative, and driven by a deep-seated purpose, Adrian is profoundly committed to driving positive change, dedicating her skills to empowering individuals and uplifting the broader society. And so again, we are indeed thankful and grateful to have this panel here tonight so that we can just share with you from our hearts and also from experience, because we have a whole range of experienced people right here on this platform. So I'm also going to permit them to introduce themselves before we go any further. So we're going to let them introduce themselves. So I'm asking Mistress, right? All right, Mistress James, just to introduce yourself and we'll take it.
What do we say? You really put that accent. Okay, so what do I say? Okay, so as you heard, my name is Master Alexander James. I love social work, everything about social work, and it can be challenging. And my desire is to see young persons thrive and St. Lucia thrive as well. So,
Mr. Ed, Apostle gained my entire government name, but I'm Cheryl. That's all I want to be called, Cheryl. I helped put this program together tonight because I thought it was very timely, and I think we needed other voices and other perspectives. So I am just handing it over to Mr. Ed.
Thank you, Apostle. Thank you, Cheryl. And Melissa, thank you so very much. With such a warm introduction, I think I can use it as my resume for the next job application. Good night, everyone, and I'm happy to be here and a panelist in this important discussion of the response of perhaps male to the issues that are happening in our society. And so we welcome your contribution as well. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Amen.
Awesome.
And I am Apostle Mason.
Well, I'm Apostle Mason, overseer of Greater Works International Ministry, and also a founding member of Design to Transform Lives. And so, again, I welcome you here. I'm thankful to God that you are here with us today to share in this great broadcast here. So I'm going to turn over to Cheryl.
Good evening again, everybody. Today we're going to read an excerpt from a book, a Serval book called Parenting Partners. And we're going to read that the story is View from a Prison Van. It's section 20, and it's an excerpt from Serval News, volume 8, number 34. It happened in Trinidad, 1992, written by Ruth Montrag. We already look at crime and violence through the eyes of newspaper reporters, a parent's testimony, or a politician moralizing. Here we have to look at it through the eyes of a victim who was known to the offer and whom we think was in a very real way caught in the cycle of violence. So we're actually looking at the cycle of violence. All right, and here goes our story. And he said, boy, this life is something else. Look where I read sitting in a prison van and going down to court again for about the 10th time. This time was rape and robbery, and this time I killed a woman, and I know it's death row after this trip. Look at me, only 22, and my life is finished already. It's true I killed a woman, but it have others too like me, like my 3 sons and their mothers, who in another way I really kill off because I leave them high and dry, and I never look back. And to this day, I don't even know where they are, where to look for them. This prison van is on its way to Golden Grove, and this setting happened in Trinidad. So Golden Grove and whatever, it's not bodily. This prison van was on the way to Golden Grove of Port of Spain, and it's dark inside here, and the other prisoners shouting and getting on, and I sitting there listening to their voices, but it's other voices I really hearing. I hearing a voice from way back in my life. I hearing my mother shouting, boy, you no good. Why you so worthless? You're just like your no good father. I go beat the badness from you once and for all. I fed up with you now. And in my heart, I can still feel the blows raining on me and the anger raising inside of me. I feeling so helpless. I was young at the time and I couldn't understand why my mother was so vexed and why she was beating me up so. Sorry. Yeah. It's only now I believe, believe it or not, in the darkness that I seen some light. The light not going to, this light not going to be much use to me now, because I go into the gallows. But I talking now because maybe what I say will help some other father or son from what I going through now. And he continued, let me tell you what I really seen. I seen myself at the age of 16 and my godmother talking to me and trying to get me straighten out my life. I hear her telling me about my mother and how at age 17 she was in love with my father, but he was a good-for-nothing man. And when he found out she was pregnant with me, he left just so. She telling me how my mother was so alone and how she was so vexed with my father and about having a baby. She said I was born with a lot of anger all around me and I should try to understand my mother. I remember how I got vexed with my godmother for taking up with my mother and I stormed out of the house. He also said, I remember my mother and all the terrible things she said about my father. She really hated him. She felt that I would grow up to be just like him, worthless, don't care, irresponsible. And she said she was doing everything in her power to keep me on the right road. She was a religious woman and she believed in the Bible, spare the rod and spoil the child. She would tell the neighbor when the kids was giving horrors and the rod was always in the corner waiting for me. I'm going to share this with Mr. Edwards and he's going to continue.
Two of the prisoners suddenly start to fight in the van and blows start to fly. Fighting that was like anything. At a young age, in primary school, I was always big in trouble. When I got blows at home, I used to get so vexed, but my mother was very, very strict. So I had to walk a straight road, or else, you know what. But at school, I didn't care. I used to fight and curse, and the teachers would pull out all the straps and the ruler and put me out of the class. I didn't learn very much. But I really didn't care about learning. My mother kept beating me and threatening to put me in the reformatory school, but I think after a time, she just get fed up with me and threatening to put me away. And besides, she had 2 other babies to take on, and there was another man too. For a time, but by the time I was 10, that stepfather took off too. And the other children started to get some blows, so she didn't have time for me. By 16, I was the macho man on the block. I remember my godmother trying to get me to go back to school, and my mother telling her that she was wasting her time with me because I was a good for nothing, just like my father. I get so blamed and vexed that I really lose respect for my mother and the whole bunch of women, for that matter of fact. I like to kick around with the girls, but as far as I was concerned, they were all there to be used, and I was out to have a good time. At 17, I met Claudine. She was different. She really loved me, and I had feelings for her. But these feelings were so mixed up. One minute I loved her, and the next minute, something else. But something in me wanted to make her suffer. I remember talking to my partner who used to go to Seville at the time, and how the course on self-awareness. And maybe I had a lot of anger in me because by the way my mother treated me, I was really trying to take it out on the girl. I really didn't take him on too much. But then I remember that when Claudine got pregnant, I couldn't handle that. So I never looked back at her again. And after that there was Janet. Yes. And Cynthia. All 3 had baby boys for me. And if what my friends say about anger is true, I wonder if these women not taking out the anger for me on my sons. And how these boys will grow up. Huh? But then, I will never really know the answer to that question. The prison van now stop, and we wait in the dark van for what seemed to be a very long time. If only I could turn back the clock, life would be so different. Help me to understand myself. If only I knew my sons and give their mother a little more help. But for me, it's only too late for me. I take my mind back to last week when my friend from Suffolk visited me in prison for the last time. We talk about life and about anger and about children. I remember he said that if only we could understand the violence we do to small children, the beatings, the shouting, the putting downs, the insult, the slap, the quarreling of parents and adults affecting them for life, we would be more careful. I can't fool myself. I know I killed a woman, and I know I'm guilty. But I'm only one. But am I the only one guilty? Should I be the only one to stand in the dock and face the judge and get the death sentence?
Is my mother not guilty for the way she brutalized me when I was too small to defend myself? Is my father not guilty for treating my mother so callous and causing all the anger to build up in her? Is my pastor not guilty for using the pulpit to encourage parents to brutalize children? And what about all the intelligent people who look after the education system? Is the Ministry of Education not guilty for not helping young people like me to understand why we so by putting special courses in the schools to help us out? Are teachers not guilty for making no attempt to understand where I'm coming from? Don't talk about the church. They're guilty like hell because they're only interested in people who dress up nice and go into heaven instead of those like me who are going to hell. And if you think of the churchmen and church women and nuns and priests don't brutalize children, they're just talking to some of them boys and girls who came out from those places and homes run by the church people. Some of them who was in them homes land in prison with me, and they have their stories too. Anyway, all these thoughts is a waste of time because the judge not going to listen. He will look at me and call me a vagabond and sentence me to hang. If I hang, well, I go into hang. But if only somebody could save my children. I don't want them to end up like me. God, I ain't praying for myself, but send somebody to save my children. Anyway, done with that. The van door open, and it's me and the judge and the rope. Don't dig nothing. I cool.
Wow.
Let's have a conversation, people. Let's go back to the questions. Apostle, is the church not guilty?
Well, reality is that we can say yes and no. Again, why yes? The church is not guilty, first and foremost. The church is not guilty for every violent act that is committed in society. Individuals remain responsible for their own actions, and that's the reality. However, the church may also bear some responsibility in the sense that, one, we remain silent in the face of injustice. We fail to confront abuse. We fail to deal with violence or corruption within our own communities and so forth. Neglect of those who are vulnerable, those who are wounded, or those who are also at risk. There's an issue also where we focus primarily only on salvation while we ignore personal sufferings, and that can also play a role in our neglect. Am I? Yeah. So we can also look at the aspect of why we are not guilty, why pastors are also guilty. Sometimes pastors can avoid difficult situations where violence is concerned. Sometimes pastors don't want to get dirty, don't want to get their hand involved in certain things because they figure that it's too much. The responsibility can be too much. Then you have also you have church responsibility, you have family responsibility. You may have a pastor who may be pastoring 100 and something congregants. He may not be able to handle, sometimes because of the time, he may not be able to handle every single problem, but sometimes you may not even be able to handle every problem in your ministry. Far less also to deal with problems outside. But yet there's an obligation that we have to deal with problems within our community and also within the church. So yes, pastors are guilty to an extent, and I also say no, because the responsibility is also upon the persons committing the crime or the persons committing the abuse.
Mr. Edward?
I don't know about the part that the church is guilty, not guilty. From a sociological perspective, the church is one of the principal agencies within a society that is responsible for the moral development of the community, of the family, and of course the individual child. The child is a product of the home, of which the home is part of the church, which is part of the society. And I could understand the umbrella of shielding, and my dear pastor gave a very well presented perspective of what you might call pigeonholing. You put some in this section, you put some in this section. Overall, the church, and particularly here in St. Lucia, we are guilty. The church is guilty. Even from its own sociotheology, or we may say its own salvation principle. The fact that the church is given the gospel, or the commission to save people, this individual is an example of where the church neglected its responsibility, either through direct or indirect perspective. I don't want to stay too much on the church because I already said the church is guilty. There are so many things happening in the society that the church is quiet and silent, and I'm glad that you made mention of that. That's a good recognition. And before it has gotten to that, the other factor that we need to bear in mind is that you can train an individual to be good in the context of morality, sanctimonious in terms of how we like to see them, but if they are not willing to exhibit, to demonstrate the principles of learning, it goes against the grain. Now, from the perspective that we are talking about the church, you need to also bring in the aspect of sin, of which all of us are part of. So we are each all responsible. But in the context of the story, I think the gentleman, the young man before the system here, is making a point that failing to take his own responsibility, although accepting in some instances, but blaming the society. And just like the society that we live in, everybody is going to blame somebody for what is missing. And so I just want to say this, that we all need to take responsibility for the communities in which we live, for the families. As the family goes, so goes the church. As the church goes, so goes the community, and vice versa.
Young lady?
Well, I'm agreeing with what was already said. I believe the church influences or can influence the family, but as was said, the church would not have direct responsibility for that family because it's a choice. And especially when you're an adult, there's accountability as well. The church can step in. I noticed in the story, he said that his mother used, well, the Bible text that he was familiar with is to spare the rod and spoil the child. So I'm assuming that the mother probably was abusing him in some way, or maybe she was not really doing it in the right way. And so that could have actually stemmed from, if the church wasn't, if she was not in that, if she was not using that verse, then maybe there would not have been abuse. But when I listened to the story, he was angry before even the church. He was angry at home. He was angry at a child. So his anger would have stemmed not from just the church, but it would have been the home. And as we know, the home is the first institution that a child knows. So I would not agree that the church the church primarily has to be blamed, but the church can definitely take on some responsibility.
I just wish that we come to a point. It's not a question of responsibility or blame. I don't want it to be a debate, but it's a panel discussion. but what I want to say is that we are more shielding the church. Who's the church? What is the church? What is the responsibility of the church? And I think in the story, the guy brought out a depiction which is so true, so very real, though it was 1990, whatever it is. Right, and we're in 2026. And we still see the same kind of characteristics. People who come to church have a certain perspective of being good, of being saved, and the leadership and administration seem to support that aspect. If you take a person, we may, for want of a better perspective, use the term, let's say a vagrant or somebody not in a particular class, and you bring that person inside, the majority of the sanctimonious ones will shield aside, may not be willing to respond effectively to that individual. Some will, but if we understand the mission and the purpose of what the church is and what the church should be, it should be able to cry out against all the injustices that have been done. Spare the rod and spoil the child is a particular religious theme that is what we call an introduction or what we call the ascent to the right for child abuse and so on. And in the story, they try to beat the wrongness or the badness out of that child with the support of the religious system. Now, what we need to look at, this individual grows up in a society that he's anti the society because he sees his godmother, he sees his mother, his stepfather, and all this in the community as having flaws and directed against him. The question I think we should be asking, how do we put the systems together, including the church, to facilitate a support for this individual? We talked about the aspect of persons getting to be an adult and taking responsibility. But unless we can define clearly what responsibilities within our society, we are beating the waters all the time. What do we mean by responsibility? That he should behave. Children should be seen and not heard. I grew up in a society in my home. My mom had a special look. When she looked at you, you knew what to do, that kind of thing, and so on. And even that was imposing upon me some form of abuse and infliction. Because at that point in time, I didn't have this kind of comfort to exercise what I believe. Children have rights, young people have rights, but their rights are only as the parent sees it or as the church would give the right for them to exercise it. And I don't have the answer, I must admit, in this process, but what I can say that we can take greater and we can do much better with limited resources that we have, and as well as with the prayers that is often given, and sometimes God does not seem to hear or answer those prayers, because I'm sure that those persons going to church would put his name in the prayer box or the prayer basket and would have prayed, but the characteristics of what we defined still remained as a bad or wicked or abused person. And the cycle of abuse repeats itself. Towards the end of the story, he is now indicating those factors. And yes, but I don't want this to be an exercise in futility, but we'll be able to answer some question as to what are the steps, what guidance can we take, because it may be our brother, it may be our sister, somebody in our society. And I think all persons who may be viewing this at this time, they can relate to this particular individual in this story.
And what about those intelligent people who look after the education system? Is the Ministry of Education not guilty for not putting programs together, special courses in the schools to help us out? And teachers, I said that you've been a professor, and teachers for making no attempt to understand where we're coming from. Anybody wants to take this one?
Repeat that one more time.
He said, and what about the intelligent people who look after the education system? So this young man is saying that everything has failed him. Education system, church, school, parent, godmother, everybody and everything has failed him. And he's asking the question, what about this and what about that and what about who and what about...
Yeah, but the thing is, we can look at the educational system or the intellectual, as we call it, and say that they have failed. But then, at the end of the day, my question would then be, what was his application in terms of what he was taught? Because educational system is designed to teach, right?
To teach what?
To teach.
And this is why, Pastor M, we have formed a re-education system
exactly.
through the DTL program.
Yeah.
So we re-educate kids, but we will get to that. Go ahead if you want.
You know, so then there's the responsibility of that, because what I'm hearing with this story is that everyone is being blamed.
Yeah.
Basically everyone is being blamed. And there's no responsibility on the individual themselves.
But he did say, I
Yeah, but
take responsibility in the way that, I know I did the crime. I know I'm going to hang. I know it's too late for me. He said all of these things. You understand?
yeah, but if he was taught,
Was he? That's the thing. Was he taught?
then that should have been that had to have been clearer.
No. Was he
I
taught?
want to say this, that we talk about the Ministry of Education, and we need also to understand the cultural perspective in which our education is formalized. What is the objective of the Ministry of Education? What is its purpose as it presents its philosophy or its syllabus to the school system? What is it is hoping to gain? And these are questions that are germane, they must be asked. And we must also understand, is it the goal of the Ministry of Education through its system, subsystems like teachers and the school and the guidance counselors and parent teachers and all this kind of thing and so on? Is it to equip a child for the kingdom of heaven, or to equip a child for the society, to how to get a job and to make money and to have a family and so on? So we need to clarify clearly what is the objective of the Ministry of Education in the process of guidance or teaching or training a child. Once we can get that clear, then we can know whether the ministry is guilty of that. In a political system, what is the goal? You talk about 4,000 or 5,000 students graduating every year, and the question is, they're not going to heaven, That's not a question. Are we preparing them for heaven or the kingdom of God, wherever you may want it to be? But we're preparing students for the world out there. I went to the RC Boys School, and there was the motto that we learned: not for school, but for life. In that aspect. So we need to be clear-cut. The ministry may be doing its job in that it's preparing persons maybe for the job market, maybe to get a job to fend for themselves, to take responsibility. But are these in harmony in terms of the primary goal? Is good behavior the essential factor for the Ministry of Education? Is the disciplinary system the goal of the education system? At the end of the child's 5 years in secondary school, is he graduating with a disciplinary certificate that you can present to the job market and say this child is well disciplined, etc., etc.? I don't think so. I think the idea is your English, your maths, the grade aspect, and so on. And so, for me, the focus of the Ministry of Education will be totally different than what we're seeking to understand in the moral context of the child. Sorry if I'm seen to be...
Can I say something?
Yes.
I'm not a psychologist. I've been a psychology student a few times over, and I thought it was a very boring subject until I did human development. And I pay homage to all the Piagets and the Ericksons and, the guys who came before us. But I stumbled on a modern theory in psychology, and I've mentioned it a few times to Apostle when we were talking about stuff. And, well, two things can be true at the same time. So, the dynamic system theory of development and the psychodynamic theory. We have a broken system, and I'm not talking about a well-behaved, well-loved child that thrives, because we have these. We have them in the good jobs, we have them, that's not what I'm talking about. The system says that when a child is not, and Freud has said it, many theorists have said it, Mr. Edwards, you know sociology, I know a little psychology. When a child is damaged, because what they're trying to tell us is the frontal lobe is where an apostle mentioned it a while ago, the brain develops from the back to the front. God designed it that way. So from 0 to 5, they have one set of behavior. Then from that to 16 or maybe to 10, we have another set of behavior. I'm not trying to say it in psychology, I'm trying to say it in layman's terms. And then before the age of 16, what we call the conscience. And if this is not developed before a child is 16, if it's damaged in any way, this is where we have problems. And I think we need a re-education for all of St. Lucia. All the persons, the psychologists, the sociologists, the doctors. We have a broken system. This is not a joke. But if you look at the science, and it says, how does it apply to a kid? The theory looks at how the prefrontal cortex organizes over time based on real-time feedback. If a child environment is stable, the system organizes normally. If you inject severe trauma, and I've heard that word many, many times this year, last year, trauma. If you inject trauma or physical damage into the system before age 16, it disrupts the entire dynamic loop. So the dynamic system theory was saying it is the study of development psychology. You understand? You are looking at it. The theory states that human behavior and brain development are not hardwired blueprints. Instead, they are dynamic, constantly moving, where biology and environment and timing collides. But the other one, the psychodynamic theory, would tell us that that's the Freudian and the neo-Freudian. It says, in the case, in the psychodynamic theory, the conscience is called the superego. And we have the id, and we have the ego, and we have the superego. And so now, when I call the conscience is what we call the superego. They say, if that is damaged before a child is 16, this is why children can do things, commit crime, get involved in certain things, because they cannot stop themselves. We say, usually we say, that child mad, or that child doing this, or that child can do that, or we cannot understand why children do this. They say, the theory is saying that when our kids are damaged before that time, that's where we have the cycle of violence. The child that was damaged as a little boy, before 10, his mother beat him to hell, we know that. What did he do when he grew up?
I don't want to. I know there's Melissa there. I don't know if she wants to contribute, but I have to.
No, you can go ahead, because I'm just trying to understand from the
all right.
the perspective.
I have a problem
With all of the theories.
Yes. Forgive me.
Go ahead.
Erickson's psychosocial development Piaget's education in terms of the child aspect, Freud, psychoanalysis theory. All of these, they sound nice. Let's look at our Caribbean-ness, our Caribbean culture.
The Caribbean perspective we're looking at.
Caribbean perspective.
Yeah.
Over 200 years, our parents, before they got to the age of 5, were experiencing all the bad things that you're talking about there in those three systems. And so therefore, we are looking to have well-adjusted people,
Yes.
Miss Social Worker. We're looking to have people who are good citizens, but based upon what you were saying from the educational perspective and sanctified by scientific theories, the education system is warped.
That's what I just said. It's broken.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have
well,
a broken
yeah.
system, and it's not just education. That's what I'm saying. So we need to re-educate. I was saying we have a broken system, but we're not looking at why. Usually, I use the prison van to teach children about crime, show them what crime does, But this time, I'm using it to do where we are sitting at the root of crime. What causes a child to have that cycle of violence? What traps them into the cycle of violence? And it is because they are not the consciousness, that part of the frontal lobe where the brain is not developed. God designed it that it's developed from 0 to 25 years. When he is not 25 yet, or when she's not 25, it is not fully developed. We see.
Would we agree that the effects of slavery is still with us?
No, I said I don't. I just wanted to speak on the root of violence a bit.
Go ahead.
In social work, we learn that there is the social learning theory, right? And we learn that people learn from behavior, from attitudes, from emotional responses by watching and copying what the family do, even the video games and all of what that could influence them. Now, if a child, let's see, maybe for the young man it's too late, but his children, the 3 boys that he has, if these children are raised in the same environment where they're seeing their mothers being beaten, they're seeing other men abusing their mothers, they're seeing the mothers abusing them, they will grow up with that sort of anger. So it wouldn't just be, yes, I will agree that maybe there are some aspects of the education system that is flawed, but the home has a great part to play in violence.
Agreed.
Because these young children he's speaking about, I'm certain that they're not 16.
No, not yet.
Exactly. And the mother will be, and he's saying that he's fearful that the mother is going to be angry, just like his mother, to beat the badness and the anger out of him. These children now will grow up with anger against everybody in the world. Against their teacher, against their neighbor, even against maybe church members. And so I believe, even before we address, the other institutions, I think the family institution is key. And this is one of the places, now you find they have a lot of young people who have children, and probably they do not even have the awareness that they are being abused. So they're raising their boys, and the boys are seeing other men beating on them, but they don't even realize that that's abuse. They believe that's love. And so the same boy would grow up beating on his girlfriend, thinking that he's loving his girlfriend.
Cycle of violence. People.
Exactly.
So
I feel like the home has a key role. I mean, of course, other institutions, yes, but the home has a key role. And if the home can if we can assist the home, we can assist parents, young single parents, maybe not even single parents, maybe nuclear families as well. But we can assist families. They can understand the role that mothers have to play, the roles that fathers have to play within the home. I think that can help a bit. So that's where I would begin. What is the home like for this child? Because the child will go to school, but the child will come back home. The child will go to church, but the child will come back home.
Question: what if the home is where the brokenness happens?
That's where we address.
This is what I'm talking about. What
This
if
is what
all
we
what we
address.
say in there, the church, the this and that, we blaming, but what if the home is where the brokenness happens? The cycle continues. They're saying that when your child, because we have some really good children here, but we have some really damaged and broken children. I don't want to say bad children. We have some. the science is saying when a child suffers trauma, when the child suffers all of that brokenness, before the age of 16, before the frontal lobe is fully developed, I just want to leave it in our terms, because we have an audience looking and waiting. When all of that happens to a child, and so in other words, a child has his own fire, a child has his own, energy. God created you, but God, it doesn't happen at 16, it doesn't happen at 19, it is fully developed. And so what happens, Mr. Edwards, if you just take fire and you throw it on the floor there, or that's a concrete floor, maybe nothing happens, but if you take it and you put it on the wooden floor, what happens to it? We may burn the place down, yes or no?
Yes, I think in all of this, I still want to go back to, and I think that's one of the purpose we're looking at. How do we break this, the cycle of violence? That's one. The factors also to, if I may start with Pastor Mason, whether you bring all your other religious organization, those that support and like you, and those that doesn't like you but will come, so they can look at that aspect, and more precisely, what is it that needs to be done in the home that is going to reflect positive change. And of course we need to understand what they need by, define what they need by positive change, because if you want to do something, set out the objectives, the aims and the goals, so therefore you know that at certain stage these things can be measured and that you can be able to say, well, yes, we achieved this. Now the God factor, which I think, because of
that's why we come in
your service here, and would promote that, has this concept that I support quite a lot, that where the God factor comes in, God can take any broken system and make it well. I believe people do change. I've seen it in the lives of others. I've listened to some testimonies from others. And so these are also something good. And I think, as you're mentioning, that the behavior modification aspect is that people learn through behavior changes when they see other persons behave. So the question comes, what are the strategies that we are willing to consider? Allow me to ask of you, you talked about you have a program that is redirection or re-educating. Yes. So what are some of those steps that you are implementing that would work?
So, Mr. Edwards, over the past 4 years, we've been in the city developing a program. And one of the first things we do, we try to do identity. So we want young people to tell us who they are. So we walk them through a series until they can find or they can answer who they are. First in the secular manner, and secondly, religiously, or we're talking about spiritual perspective. And then we have lectures we do at schools. We try to take broken children. We try to we collaborate with gang leaders sometimes. Whatever they come to us, so we accept anybody. Okay, allow me to interrupt.
What is the ultimate goal of that program?
Of the re-education program? That's amazing.
No, I'm asking. I'm not to put anybody in a spot. No. But I want it to be realistic that we are talking about something that's in our society. 82% of our family homes are single parent homes. 18% of that particular group as female-headed homes, etc. You have a society that believes that it's labeled itself as a Christian society. And when we talk about redirection, we talk about re-education, in the whole aspect of it, we are saying, okay, we want this individual who we have identified of having some issues that we want to work with them and to modify them. The question is, what is the end result that we have? That's I'm trying to understand. I'm not saying you all have the question, have the answer, but I am willing to be able to say, okay, let me have a critical look at it, and so if I can say, okay, yes, for my child, I can have him in this program that's giving me direction. Because if you're doing a program like this, I think it should not just be in the little corner here in Bizet, but throughout the country, throughout. And what does it take for the redirection? I'm just
the thing is with the program, which is DTL, one of the things how we started off with children who were they call dysfunctional, basically. Children that were also on the verge of being expelled from school and
Right.
so forth.
Okay, good.
So we took roughly, how many of them? 20?
19.
We took 19 of them and we worked with them to reintegrate them back into the school system. And our success basically have been, I can say 99.9%, you know. And we, as a result of working with these children, because again, we did a number of things with them, as Cheryl would have said, the identity aspect, they understanding who they are, what the reason for them being in the earth, self-discovery. So we work with them through that. Some of them came to a point of understanding who they are, understand the need for them to remain focused.
May I interject?
Yeah.
Okay, with such a program that has a 99% success rate, have you thought about doing another pilot project, let's say in canneries, or identify another locality, so that this grows, it doesn't stay one place, there's a momentum? And because I'm saying that unless something happens, and I'm glad for the program you're talking about, then we're going to get many 22-year-olds ending up in the prison van. And
But this is why we're here, Mr.
Well, this is why we're here tonight, and so this is really just the beginning of things to come. Because again, it cannot just be, as you said, it cannot just be this group here, our little group in our little neck of the wood. While we can be impactful where we are, but then there's a need for collaboration. There's a need for us to work with others. We have the Babylon School. Yeah, and we have done programs. We have done programs outside of Castries. We've done programs in Roseau. We've done programs in Vieux-Fort. You know, so we've done programs outside of Castries. So we're not just in Castries, but we've done programs outside of Castries.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
We have tried. We also working on digitizing.
And we actually were setting up something that we can work with gang, the young men who are involved in gangs and stuff like that. We've been approached many times to actually work with them, and we have done not with the gang in itself, but we have done individual gang members. We've worked with a few.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we have had children as young as 11, 10, 11.
We might smile, but it's true.
Yeah, we've done, because we've worked with them, 10, 11-year-old already in the gang, already operating, functioning, you know, normally.
So I have a question.
Yeah,
So
sure.
how do you get your clientele? From the school who refers?
He refers them to me. He refers them to me. This is
Well, I refer, the thing is, I refer them, I connect with a lot of people on a daily basis. So you have a lot of persons who have problems with their children, with their young boys, with their young girls. So upon recognizing, because not everything is spiritual, some things are natural, and I believe in dealing with a holistic person, not just the spiritual side of an individual.
Yeah.
You know, because again, body, soul, and spirit must be presented. So this is why sometimes when I have an issue, I recognize it's not a spiritual issue.
Okay.
Sometimes I refer the individual to Cheryl, and she works with them, work with the parent also. So we don't just do the child, but we also work with the parent. So when we are not there, the parent know exactly what they should do and how they should operate. Yeah.
And sometimes I don't answer my phone because when I see the call, it's trouble. So
Yeah, because sometimes we have listen. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of broken families, and this is why I say one ministry alone cannot handle everything, and this is not a denominational thing. This is a national thing. This is the collective. It takes a collective body to do it. You know, the days where the community raised up children are no longer there.
Yeah.
And so we need, our community now has to be not just one church, but all. Because we look at it, I cannot say, there may be some things that I may not have in my ministry that Mr. Edwards may have. And I cannot say, well, hey, I'm not going to send my child to Mr. Edwards because, you know, he may take my child. Listen, if I send my child to Mr. Edwards and he can do a great job, hey, kudos, great. You're helping me, you're helping the process. And this is what it's about.
And I really want to say that we started this program. I'm not going to sit on the second panel because I think it should be fathers. Of course, you know, we did this in commemoration of the upcoming Father's Day.
Yeah.
I see that you
the
are
theme is,
restoring the hearts of
the
the
fathers.
fathers.
And Malachi 4:6 said, He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the hearts of the children to the fathers, or else He will come and strike the land with total destruction. Are the hearts of the fathers, my question to you guys, the panel, are the hearts of the fathers anywhere aligned with the hearts of the children right now?
It's a good question.
Literally and figuratively, because the father can be now, because of the society we are, the grandmother, the mother, single mother.
Yeah.
You understand? Are the hearts of the fathers aligned with the hearts of the children in any kind of way?
So, okay. So, what can we do to attract fathers to help to create within them a greater awareness as to their responsibility for their children? What are the systems we can put in place, whether it is sociological or psychological or spiritual? What are some of the things that can be done or can be targeted to meet fathers? Because like we said, the data tells us quite clearly in St. Lucia that 82% of our homes are headed by female-headed household. And so the men are there, but where? So we need to be able to find a program. I think that's a good thrust what you've started here. I want to commend you and the group for this aspect, and also allow me to give you some trouble as to how to have
No, that's what it's about.
But I think it's important that we identify men.
Yeah.
Identify men in this aspect.
And this is why I'm not going to come back. We're going to see a panel of men only, fathers.
You try to escape.
You know, people like that. Yeah. So, Pastor M, are we finished with our questions? What other question did he ask?
I think the focus. I want to suggest on in this aspect, and I think you brought that, the aspect of collaboration, irrespective of distinctive religiosity. There should be an effort made to have this greater campaign among the religious leaders because a Baptist sees a Pentecostal young lady, he likes her. They get married. That's an union. And so irrespective of the faith-based difference, they're going to have a child. And that whole aspect. So there's need for the solution religious order to come together and to be able to address as a unit as much as possible without thinking of proselyting or stealing members from members. To have a broad open mind that it's about the children and except we become like little children, we don't know where we're going. So I think that's a good idea to be able to do that. And of course the other thing is to find, which is a greater problem, find mechanisms to attract men. As apart from a blocker or something, so it doesn't seem to work. But some men are, because of the society again, maybe timid, they're afraid to take up responsibility, and also understand why so many households are without a male figure, which impacts again onto the life of children. So,
Mr. Edward, I was wondering, do we have a society that promotes co-parenting, blended families? Are we in the era where we should do this, like, encourage that? Maybe that's a place we can start. Because you and I may have had something, but it didn't work out. But as a child, and whatever. But I would call you in front of my child all kind of names. You're the bad, like your father is a no good. You understand what I mean? but yet still he may have another wife, another woman, and then we need to blend this family. How do we make people understand that blended families is a thing right now? It's in our era. And co-parenting. Sisters, stop telling the children their fathers are the worst dog, the fathers is this and that. It's a bad thing. We need to teach our kids honor. That's some of the things we do in our program. We need to teach our kids honor, like the Chinese or whatever they do very early. You know, we need to teach our children honor for God, honor for leadership, honor for, and then honor their parents. No matter what happened between you and that man, it had nothing to do with this child that you breaking up and you damaging by calling him all kinds of names. You know, sometimes the child doesn't need the money, he needs his father's chest to rest on. He needs his father to show him how to be a man and things that we do not know how to do. Because I don't know how to teach you to be a man. And I think sometimes we do a very horrible growing up thing with that. So what would you say for this? And don't be afraid to talk. You are maybe the most qualified in all of us.
Please. I mean to be humble. I think that's a question for the social worker.
It's true.
Deals with the family.
I feel our whole aspect in St. Lucia, or I would say in the Caribbean, because when we look at men in the Caribbean, it's like women, they talk about equal rights and all that, but it's like women are the ones who's actually providing for their families. Women are the ones who are heading their homes, and that should be the duty of a man. But I can only agree that would be the duty of a man more on a spiritual level. So spiritually, Christians, I guess, or probably persons who go to church would say, okay, the man is the head of the household. But if I'm not a religious person, it will be very difficult for me to accept that. And I feel like society now, we don't normalize the man being the provider, the man being the head of the household, even if he's not living in the household. We don't normalize these things. So you find that men are the ones who's actually having children and they're leaving them alone, and so the woman is the one who's actually taking on the responsibility. And as a result of that, people have no respect for men. You find maybe in the schools they'll call the mother to the meeting, and the father is nowhere around. Mothers having babies, mothers have their leave, fathers nowhere around, working hard. And it's not a norm, except if you're from a nuclear family where there's a married couple, you'd find the father would come. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, it's not a norm that fathers do anything with children. And so children are being raised now with their mothers doing everything, and then they have little respect for their fathers. And they're supposed to, when they get older now, they're supposed to be men. And they're supposed to respect their wives and their significant other. I feel it can't work that way.
Do we emasculate men, women?
I think that's the primary.
That's the problem. That's one of the issues. And then you have the aspect where men were given the free will to travel and to do whatsoever they wanted to do or want to do. Now it's difficult for you to contain a man, literally.
Mm-hmm. It's as if there's the fire I was trying to tell Mr. Edwards about.
You're trying to tell.
It's all right. Let's go ahead.
Men care, men do care. Following the end of slavery, men went, as you would know, that during that period, they fathered a lot of children and so on. The masters would take their wives and send them to different plantations out of the little islands and so on. And a lot of fathers, male, left the place where they were enslaved and went to places where they heard that the wives or the children were deported or sent to by the masters. And so that aspect comes also with the cultural perspective that we have. The father goes overseas, and some of the reason or the primary foundation is to go to get a job and to send back money to take care of his children, and so on. And sometimes out of an attempt to do something good, another side effect comes up, because like right now you have not just the fathers but the mothers who go overseas go to America and they send back the barrels.
The love in the barrel.
The love in the barrel, that kind of thing. And so therefore it creates those issues. But seriously, the focus of what Cheryl was bringing about, the blended family and so on, it is good if we understand it, but it has some cultural difficulties for us to face. In our Caribbean society, Cheryl, if I may use that the thing and so on, gets married, and for whatever reason, there's a separation and so on. Husband, they have to chew and marry somebody else, and they come together. Some mothers will tell you, even before they get married, I don't want that woman to look after my child. So unless we can address some of those problems that within the culture that exists, the child may get better treatment in this new family than where they are, but again, the attitude, the behavioral perspective, and how people see that if my child goes there, it means I'm a bad mother. So that needs to be addressed. And so the whole context of blending, which is operating in a more Western society and so on, also has to do in terms of, I come back again to the church, sorry about that, how the church views marriage. And in the whole context that if two persons are divorced, what is the church perspective in terms of they forming new relationship or getting married? There's some organization that not look favorably on second marriages, and so therefore some of those things can limit the aspect of what you may call for blended family. But of course, the challenge is there. If persons are informed, educated, and there's a greater awareness, then perhaps it can be a stepping stone. Because at the end of the day, what we are saying from this perspective is, how do we care for our children in a better environment?
Anybody else have something they want to contribute?
So in the aspect of dealing with men, what then would you think the steps would be to curb that, or to, in any way?
I think what I would think here is public.
Just now, because one of the things I found in my years in ministry is that men don't ever come for counseling. Well, most don't come because they don't see the need, and this is
no, they don't see the need, if I may say so, but it is how the attitude of society, or some going on, that kind of thing.
You know, you consistently hear that. There's nothing that you can tell me, or
I don't know.
You know, that I don't know, because we men seem to know everything.
That's the problem.
and very few would come for counseling, and those who come for counseling, and sometimes those who refuse counseling, they refuse it because it makes them look small. It makes them look insignificant, makes them look like they cannot man their homes,
yes,
and so forth. So it's like, hey, I'm not going for counseling, not realizing that they don't know everything. And there's always someone that may know something or help you in an area that is needed. So how do we break that, or how should that be broken, or how can that be broken?
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add, as you said, what we know is that boys were taught, like growing up, you're not supposed to show too much emotions. I mean, being emotional is a woman's thing. Showing vulnerability, showing sadness, that's a woman's thing. And if a boy is doing it, they probably beat it out of him to man him up.
Yeah.
And you find these same boys are growing up to be men, and then they will refuse counseling because why am I going to sit in front of a counselor to tell me what to do? But I think when we spoke about re-educating, I think that's where it comes. Where, yes, that's what you were taught, but the reality of it is that people are not just women, but people are emotional beings. If you're hurting, you're hurting. You're not less of a man because you're hurting, or you lost your job and you're grieving that loss of a job or family. And so re-educating via the church, via maybe community meetings, whatever other systems that can provide that sort of education, I think it would be necessary, and I think it's a start.
I would say this, please bear with me. Men need to learn to take care of themselves. If you look at the trajectory of a male child, the first person he sees is a woman. He may have sisters in the home. The work is subdivided. The person who he sees in his growing years of maturity, understanding, is his mother. Is his mother. I'm getting the same thing as you. Okay. I think someone's asking a question or something.
Yeah, somebody asked.
Okay. Okay, briefly put, women cook for men, they dress them, they prepare the hot water for them to go and bathe and so on. They tell them what shirt to wear, what pants to put. But so men have generally not been able to take care of themselves. They've been taken care of from their mother, their sisters, their wives, or girlfriends, etc. And so you do have this kind of dependency that men have on women. And oftentimes they react in some way that is not good, because that's the only strength that they have to lash out and so on. Then you would have known, Cheryl, from the psycho perspective, a man does something to a woman that's not good, or violence spit out towards her, and then he comes back and says what? He's sorry, and all of these things and so on. What does the woman do at that stage?
Some of them take them back.
Some of them take them back and so on.
Some of them keep them.
And pampers them and so on. So one aspect is to be able to look at our culture and be able to address some of the things that makes us men who we are because of how we are treated within the family. And I said take care of themselves because men are taught to take care of the family.
Yeah, everybody else.
Yeah, but they feel jealous too that when a woman is doing much better in that role than they are, that kind of thing and so on. They feel inadequate for this kind of thing and so on. Sexual wise, women tend to have the control, and it's like tonight is not your night because I have a headache or something. So again, it creates a lot of inadequacy in men.
Yep.
And so these are some of the things. But I would say that one of the questions you did ask, I want to say that quickly. Public awareness campaign. There must be a massive educational program that the public is constantly aware towards that and so on. And it will not be just like seasonal. Father's Day is coming up, so we have a program about male and that kind of thing and so on. And after Father's Day, nothing.
Yeah.
So it must be consistent. Where we get the funding or the resources, that is something that you have to build strategies, etc., that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Form community cliques so that if we say, okay, this month we're doing this thing in Denry, next month in Beaufort or something, so. But we're trying to get the idea that men are important. And because they're important, they will understand responsibility that comes with that importantness.
Yeah. That's why I think I was speaking to Cheryl and we were talking about maintaining programs for men. And that's something we've always spoken about. And I believe it's something that is needed. But someone asked a question, I think someone asked a question, we have about 30 minutes left. Someone asked the question, how do we reconcile the reality that cycles of trauma are often passed down with the necessity of holding individuals accountable for their own violent action? You want me to read it again? Okay. How do we reconcile the reality that cycles of trauma are often passed down with the necessity of holding individuals accountable for their own actions?
Okay, it look like a social work question.
So,
Okay, I would. You make a response?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
will
I would
respond
say
after you.
this. Jesus had a method of meeting people on a one-to-one basis, and that tend to be more effective than even the crowd aspect. You see the difference that when he spoke in the crowd, oftentimes the disciples would come to him privately and ask him what he meant by so and so. When he met with the individual, let's say like Nicodemus, the answers were able to, the questions were able to come. There was this dialogue, and so the need for dialogue is one of the ways that you can reach out to that aspect. Then I want to look at a foundation that, even if I may speak of it and so on, the spiritual connection. I have always said, man is spiritual. He's not just flesh. He's spiritual, and therefore, from like they say, God is a spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit. If you need to meet a man, you need to meet him at a spiritual level. And so, the last part of the question, I just wanted to get the last part of the question is.
The last part, 1 second. The last part of the question is, with the necessity of holding individuals accountable for their own violent action.
That's why it's a social work question. Counseling.
and I believe and we're privileged here. I mean, although people say, we don't have much resources, we do have some level of resources in St. Lucia. So there are places you can call and you can get assistance, right? But having the awareness that you are flawed, having the awareness that there is a problem, and you would not know if there is a problem if you are not knowledgeable. So, for example, persons who go through domestic violence, they would have passed on that whole trauma. I mean, if they have children in the home, the children would have seen. That would have been passed on. That child is angry, he has his own relationship, he has his own family, and he's lashing out the same way, right? As a result of that, he now have to recognize that there's something wrong. How would he know that? When he's able to see healthy families, maybe for the church, for the community, or wherever he's able to see the healthy families. Then he'll realize, okay, I have an issue in my home. This is not how I'm supposed to love my family, love my children, and therefore I can ask for help. And there, as I said, St. Lucia has made it available to us where people you can see a counselor, you can be referred to human services, and there are other agencies who are able to assist. But there must first be awareness. When you are aware, then you'll be able to accept, okay, I am not treating my family very well, I am harming my family, and as a result, I want to do better. That is the only way you won't pass on trauma and to get it addressed.
I would also add the support group. Let's say like men who have lashed out in terms of violence, accepting responsibility to when they realize or they come to understand that this is a challenge that not only I face, but my other partner face, or the men, and they can come together and to acknowledge. I think the program you talk about self-identification, identifying who you are in the process is critical.
Yeah.
And then to accept responsibility, because most of the support groups identify that, okay, whether it's an AA that's my name is so and so and I am so and so for 2 years, or this kind of thing and so on. That aspect. Then men talk to men. Then you don't have to have, let's say, like a violent attitude or to have a support group. So you must not think that all bad guys are in a group. There must be opportunities for men to explore, that kind of thing and so on.
Mr. Edward, we're still talking about the normal man, whether he's drinking or whatever the things we just said. We're talking about, let's talk about the man that is stuck in the cycle and cannot come out. and you know that sometimes in drugs and in whatever.
Yeah.
These are the issues we have to raise, and I think that's what the question lead into. How do you come out when you're stuck or you're broken, when you do not know? Our guy in the 22-year-old, the 10-year-old, that's the numbers we need to look at. The 16-year-old in the book, in the story.
I want to go back to the Jesus method again. So
I love the Jesus method. I love the Jesus method. You understand?
I don't have the right person in the right setting to say that, but I say it this way. The Jesus method was to go out. And he also said this, into the highways and the byways. Yeah. And therefore, whoever is responsible for whatever program must be critically aware as to where those persons are. Go and find them. To where they live, knock on the doors. Wherever the circumstances express themselves, there must be an invitation. And this is why I talk about legwork. Develop, again, let's say, human services or something, so may be able to have a map as to clients who are coming from a particular area with a particular issue, maybe, let's say, domestic violence. I recall in my earlier years at Human Services, there was a particular community, a religious community as well, that almost all the men in the church were sleeping with their daughters. I'm talking about here in St. Lucia. And so when you understand that aspect and what the community is facing, then you're able to develop a program. A second community, which is not far off, in the Marigold area, during the time when they had those popular JJ nights and this kind of thing and so on. You had little pockets where some of the females in that community had what you call extra relationship, particularly on the Friday night, the Saturday night, and some of the spouses in the home were aware of those factors. If you know the location, you go into location. There may be challenges. For example, we talk about Marshall, George Charles Boulevard, where I come from. You talk to some people today, and they said to you, "But I ain't going to Marshall, I ain't going to." Yeah. But this is where we need to go to be able to identify those persons, or since we know where they are, and to be able to address them, whether it is the issue of drugs and so on. It does not mean that you must throw away your caution and your protection, etc. But you must be wise as serpent and harmless as dove. But the fact of the matter is, when we identify the problem, we need to find a solution to the problem.
So basically, this is where, again, I would say that the church, when we spoke about earlier, the yes and no, this is where I think the church does not play the role, because I believe in going out. And I mean, Chair can tell, we had this foundation that was running, changing lives. And the lives that we have impacted, you know. And if we talk about the Jesus method, most churches or most ministries, what they do is they wait for people to come to them, you know, or they possibly wait for Mr. Edwards to clean them up, and then they come and take them, and that's one of the issues. So what you'll find is that there's no one going, but they're expecting these broken people, these wounded people to come, where some of these people are not even able to get up.
Yeah, that's
you know, because we have issues where we again, Mr. Edwards spoke about the Jesus method. Jesus never waited for anyone to come to him. Very few just came and just did what they had to do, but he went out. A young man, 38 years, had an issue, lay down at a place. He was not able to get up. So how would he have come to that location? Jesus came to him. So we have a responsibility, and this is where the church is lacking, because we have a responsibility of going. We have a responsibility of impacting. We cannot impact if we stay within the four, and Cheryl and I always talk about that. You know, the four wall ministry. We are not called into a four-wall ministry. We are called into an outdoor ministry. Yeah. He said, "Go ye." Therefore, so the impact is when you go. Because when you go, people feel, they feel that expression of love. They feel that level of comfort and accountability, and because someone cares for me. Sometimes just a little call. All a person needs is just a call, just someone just to check up on them, and that makes a great difference. We spoke about the Marshall community. There are people that will never go there. There are people that will never go into the grassroots area.
Oh, I just forgot. You two guys are from the Marshall community.
They're not going to go there because they fear that if I go there, I may get robbed. And this is why I talk about a lot of Christians, a lot of us don't want to get our hands dirty. And we have to get our hands dirty in order for us to be
with a mission.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to say this. Because, Galatians 6 say, carry each other's burdens and in the way, and that's exactly what you guys are talking about. You understand, fulfill the law of Christ. And that explains why the 10-year-old burden and his trauma belongs to us. But what I'm not getting, because we have not dealt with the science, but at least we know what it is, repetitive compulsion. And we know this guy, when he was 10, what he saw, what he was beaten before he was 10, he was beaten after he was 10, he was beaten maybe until he was 16, where she figured she tired and she can't get him all licked. You understand?
But Sharon, with all due respect, in our cultural society, they tell us,
yeah, Mr. Edwards, but our licks, there's beating, whooping, and there's abuse, When you figure...
My parents didn't understand that in the days I was growing up.
But now you get arrested, you know that. You get arrested.
But I still have two questions. Someone
People?
online, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, because I can always get back to that.
Okay. Another question is, has our cultural norms and societal expectations of men and boys done more harm than good?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
That's the first.
Very good question. Thank you for this question.
It's three questions. So I'll leave that one first.
Yes, and that's what my concern when I heard about re-education and redirection, which is the whole concept of retraining. And I'm saying that I am happy to hear that there's a unit, there's an organization, a group who is seeking to do that. But the what for me is, at the end of this, do we expose the culture for what it is? Let's talk about sexual abuse, female sexual abuse. Like I said, there was a particular community where I was working in, and I did some research in that area, and it's a religious community, church elders, and the mothers knew, and because of the positions, they kept quiet.
Yeah.
So are we prepared now to educate our society enough to say, if you see something wrong, then say something strong. Don't hide it. Say it, that kind of thing. But it takes a lot now to educate a family, because in the case of some families, the man is the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And taking him to court or calling the police on him, the question is, who will take care of my children? So therefore, it's murky. It opens a can of worms, but we must be courageous to allow me to call sin by its right name. If it is wrong, then we deal with it in that aspect. Now, the culture of our society, yes, we need to also be aware that, is educate the society from what it was. Many years ago, we didn't have electricity, but people graduate because they learned about the benefit of electricity. And so the flambeau and the bouteille noir and the lamps and so on, they've moved into the stellar. So as people are educated, they're able to see light. And I'm not saying we're going to get everything happening in one big go, but step by step, you will be able to penetrate and create a difference, even if one person. Because if there's joy in heaven over one, we should be happy with what we have. The other aspect is, again, public awareness. The culture is more or less what people have grown to and accepted, and everything in society can be changed. American influence has impacted upon us so much that even our children watching the cartoons and so on start to sound like American children, although they have never been to America. So we, if they can do that through whatever media means, then we too can help to educate our society to understand and see the things that we accepted as traditions and culture were wrong.
Assign, what's the second part? Well said, Mr. Edward. What's the second part?
Well, the second part to that, and there's another question after. The second, how can women support a positive change?
Women,
Positive change?
Yeah, how can you support a positive change?
Well, you know how when we praise children, when something is really great, because we do so much damage or so much, this and that, but when something is really good that they did, we doesn't say, oh, well done, my boy, this is a great thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways we can support a positive change, by encouraging others, by spreading it to more women. All of that are ways we can support a positive change.
And I will just add, especially when it comes to activities like Father's Day, you highlight the good, because you tend to hear a lot of the bad when it comes to Father's Day, men this and men that. But highlighting the good, I'm certain that there are many of our leaders, men, who are doing well, who are running their household really well. Children are thriving. So I feel we should acknowledge that, publicize that as well. And as a result, maybe others would be encouraged to be.
So outside of the Father's Day activity, outside of that time.
Yes, and encourage them. And somebody once said, I think it was a joke, where they said, mothers usually get spas and hotel treatments during Mother's Day.
I was coming to that.
Yeah, and men get a shovel, like doing enough working around the house, and a cutlass because I asked you to clean and you were not cleaning, but you recognize what you have and you acknowledge it.
Assign, what's your perspective?
it's a women's question.
Sometimes the men have answers to be
I just stay away from that.
But I really think rewarding people, and sharing it.
I think a reward system is important, and I think I again acknowledging the good in the man when he's done good. You let him know. And sometimes I still believe that even if he does not do good, I don't believe that you should bash him.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure she's
because-
talking
because-
about men in
man.
that aspect of the
But did
question.
you see that?
No,
you see now
well,
I'm telling that?
She said a positive change, or he or she said,
Yeah,
they
but
didn't say
a
where,
positive-
what aspect.
It says how can women support a positive change?
No, I'm just saying that a positive change, not, for who, for what?
For the man in
I think it's for
the
men because
home,
it's prior.
Or a man.
for the boy, for the man. How can you? How
Sometimes,
can you support?
I'm just saying, ladies, what I would like you all to do for.
We are is
Sometimes a simple. I see you wanted to do something, and I wanted to, and I thank you for just the way you're thinking. Yeah, right. That's the right word.
ideally it's beautiful. Realistically, you're drained by the time you get them to do something. Because you
But when they do it,
nice job, good job, pat them on the back, kind of thing.
No, I said, okay, this time I book in the hotel for you. Get the spa.
Okay. You're not saying that.
But
And the last question.
The last question is: do you believe the community is truly ready to be the change that is needed to shift away from crime and violence?
I think.
No, it's not ready. And that's where re-education comes in, because we're saying let's have a campaign,
And
or let's do
I'll
whatever.
ask another part to that.
But who educates them? Because who fixes the broken thing? We know what it is. We know the 10-year-olds in St. Lucia are trapped in this prison van psychologically. They're there spiritually. They're trapped. How do we get them out of the prison van? You understand? So we're not ready. And unless we educate the educators, you understand, the ministries of big whatever they are, the persons in charge of social work, we need to educate these people, and then we can do the bigger, outreach, or the bigger education, like we said, was, the campaigns. But we need to educate the right people.
I think we are. The community is ready, and I would make reference to the incident, recent incident of I think it was a young lady who was murdered. And I really love the way St. Lucian young people came together and they rally, against violence against women. And I feel that maybe, of course, other things could be done, But I know that that's a start. Now, it would be terrible if the conversation ends there, right? You know that thing happened and something else happened and the conversation ends there. I would love that the conversation would have gone beyond that. And the reason for that is that people are aware, people are coming out, other young people are aware that, okay, hey, he's hitting me, that is abuse, that is not right, I'm calling somewhere, I'm coming out of that. And I think if the conversation ends there, then okay. But if the conversation can go beyond that, I believe the community will accept and is ready for the change.
May I? I am tired of the walks. I am tired of the vigils. I am tired. I'm seriously tired because another young woman will get more, and I don't want to talk about that because the legal is not here to represent us to say this is something that we can talk about or not. So I try not to talk about this case,
we will have,
and give anybody any perks and whatever. But I am tired of, and that's what I'm saying. This is why my heart is into re-education. This is why all these theories and whatever is what will help us educate the young men, and so they will not be the guy in the prison van. That's what I'm saying. To commit more crimes like that, to commit more murders. The guys who are stuck, we need to work with them right now. We can have vigils and we can have marches and I respect it. Young people came out, this is a good thing. But how many times will we do this? Yeah. Where are we going with this? Every march, and I'm not beating it up, that's what I'm saying. I want to see the change.
And that's why I'm saying, if the conversation stops here, then you would see, okay, that is just, but if now the thing about change is, where is the change coming from? It has to come from the church. It has to come from the schools. It has to come from the home.
What did you say Galatians 6:2 said? Carry each other's burdens. Remember the time when God asked Cain and Abel in that thing? Where's your brother? What did he answer? Am I my brother's keeper?
I have two other questions, and I think we got it, because I know Mr. Edwards have to.
Okay, then throw them at Mr.
So I'm going to throw them. One is for social worker. The question is, the person asked or said that there are so many judgment-free groups or forums and support groups for women. For women, are there readily available judgment-free groups or forums for men with issues? Can a man or boy child have this judgment-free space where they can come and say, I am dealing with this issue of abuse, or I am dealing with an abuser because I was abused, etc., etc.?
That's a man question, but I want to answer.
Well, we put it in both ways. Yeah.
That's a man question, but I want to say a little bit of, just a little something of this. My answer is no. We have the police laughing at a man who's been abused, and he would go to the police and say, I need help, my wife beat me, and that's the biggest joke in St. Lucia.
Or I got raped.
I got raped. Then you go to crisis centers, and I'm not saying the one in St. Lucia, but when a man goes for intervention somewhere, society laughs at a man, boy, you're a little boy and whatever. That's what we've been doing. So I will say no. I will say no to this. And now because of this thing, we told them sticks and stones may break my bones with words. We've created, a monster when it comes to men help, men going places and getting, you understand, Mr. Edwards, help, or at least only in the church I know where you can go and it might stay confidential, and the person next door doesn't know, or the next 10 people in society does not know mate was there or whatever. And I always say that there is a great counseling program at Wellness St. Lucia, the upper level. But before your child goes to this program and they come out, the next person on the phone will be telling somebody, guess which child I saw there? And it takes 5 minutes in our culture, you understand? The stigmatization and the things that happen in our culture for somebody else to know. And so men don't go to counseling, women, children. It's hard. So I would say no to this.
Okay, well, on a professional basis, I would say yes, because I apologize if you know of persons who have experienced that. But based on my profession, I know for sure confidentiality is one of our core values. And based on what I know that St. Lucia has offered, I have not heard of anybody who spoke about, persons spreading their information. There are services available. I do not know about support groups, but I know for sure there are services available where men can call with whatever issues that they have, and they will not be judged. And they will receive counseling. Now, the thing about counseling depends on you're supposed to put in the work. If you do not put the work, then the counseling would not. So I've heard persons say, that it wasn't effective. But I know for sure I can say that there are services available in St. Lucia that men can call and talk about their situation, and they will receive help from a counselor.
Okay. You understand?
I think outside of governmental agencies, communities can initiate such support or non-judgmental group. It takes a lot of work, like I keep saying, the legwork, but if you get 2 or 3 persons together, that can start. And but it must be where persons are willing and committed to initiate that kind of aspect.
I'm very confidential.
Yes.
Well, for me, I believe in confidentiality, 100%. Once someone shares something with me, it remains right there. Because you did not share it with me, so I can share it with everyone. And sometimes because, again, of the issue, that even sometimes when I'm sharing something with someone and I feel it's a private matter, I don't share it. I pull them aside and I share it with them. But I believe in 100% confidentiality, and I think that's important, right? And I also believe that's where sometimes, our men have failed. Our men find themselves being disappointed because they will share something with someone which is supposed to be in confidentiality, whether a pastor, whether a prophet, whatever. And 2 minutes later, as Sherry said, you will hear that. And these men may never come back. And they will never share with anybody again. And this is where the problem, there's a problem also. So they will die silently and not even know why they died. Yeah, but there's another question.
Help us close by.
Yeah.
That one is Mr.
I'm not going to ask all the questions, but there's one more question. Well, it's directed, Pastor. As much as you have said to speak up, well, generally, when this mother, for example, speaks up and now loses the breadwinner of her family, is the church ready to step in and meet this mother's needs, not just the spiritual need, but the financial and physical needs?
Very interesting question.
It's a very good question,
Yeah.
and again, I would say that this is where I don't want to end on that note that I started with, but I would say this is encouraging, that the church should listen to what's happening outside, the media, have its ears cocked up and listen, and take action to help support and recognize the agencies that can be of help to them. For example, allow me to be candid to say the church may not be able to respond to 180,000 persons in St. Lucia.
Yep.
But what the church can do is identify and align agencies and other groups that are able to facilitate. The church may be able to look at foster care groups among its membership that will be able to say, okay, this child is in a situation, or this family, we can foster. And foster doesn't mean you have to take children at your home. You can make sure that that child goes to school, but you pay the school fees, that kind of thing. Or you identify somebody within your congregation or within the society who would say, okay, here's money for the bus, mother, here's money for the children, uniform, etc. So there are a lot of steps that can be taken directly and indirectly. And yes, I'm one who believes that the church has a role to play in those particular issues. For example, and I'm glad that the Ministry of Women's Affairs, I think it was, did that with the last situation of the young lady that was murdered. I heard the minister responsible put a plan of action together and a plan of support for the child, etc.
Yeah.
And so,
That's wonderful.
yes.
Yeah.
So therefore, what the
applaud
church
them.
can do is, if it cannot take on that financial aspect, it can source agencies or other resource method and then say, listen, we have this family. Because I'm sure that Michelle would be able to, we used to do that quite a lot in the past. Even writing to some of the supermarket and say, listen, we have this family, can you help them with a monthly grocery basket? And I know Jacob Charles in the past used to do that quite a lot. So I'm saying identify the resources that are around you and be able to match particular situation as they arise.
Yeah, and again, I'm totally in agreement with that. And I also believe that the church should have funding available, because if we're going to tell people to come out of a situation, we have to have the means to pull them out and to support them at the time until they're able to get back on their feet. So I believe that 100%. Sometimes my issue sometimes, Mr. Edwards, is going out and sourcing, especially from supermarkets and different places. Reason being because churches have exhausted, because churches have made themselves appear to be beggars. And this is where my thing in terms of sourcing becomes a problem, especially when you're sourcing from small businesses and different things. This is why I also believe that the government, we can indeed go to the government. The church is supposed to have their own resources. And no matter how we look at it, how we take it, we must have our own resources that we can take care of our people as best as we can. So you have
I want to say something as you mentioned this. When you use the term our people, and allow me to just put this little nicely. A lot of times, the church goes out and look after those persons in the highway and the byways, and that's good and that's necessary. But there are a lot of times there are members in the church itself that are hurting.
Amen.
And because they come to service every Sunday or Wednesday, whatever day it is, we assume that things are good. And they too need the support. And so you must be able to have your tentacles out to be able to understand the membership circumstances and so on.
Because we have a feeding program that we do in the church. We do it for the community, and we also do it for our members. So we don't just do it for the community. Again, as you said, there are people in the church who don't have, who are hurting, who are broken, who may need some finances just to go to work. And so as best as we can, we support as a ministry. Yeah.
So final words, everybody?
Final, go ahead. Alyssa, you can.
Okay, so thank you for having me here. I know it was a wonderful discussion, and I will just end by saying the responsibility for having wholesome families, for having functioning men in society is not just based on the church, but also the community, the home. And so we have the schools. And so I think if we take on that responsibility, and for men, if you seek help, the government have made services available. I mean, the church has made services available. You speak out. You seek the help. Yes, the church probably might have to go out for some persons, but you can also come in. As long as it's safe, if it's a safe environment, you come in and you talk to somebody. Because the reality is, no matter how society is, change can start now, and change can only start when you are aware that you have an issue and that you want help. And because of that, now you'll be creating a new trajectory for your family, for your boys moving forward.
Thank you so much. Mr. Edward?
I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. And
Thank you for coming.
And I also want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I want to encourage you to continue this. I also want to say that I'm old already, so I want to suggest that such a program should be initiated among the young persons within the church, hear their perspective as young men, and so on, and also have a female group to their thinking, their thoughts as to males, etc. Invite other groups and organizations. In terms of responding to challenges, I think that if possible, there should be somebody within your congregation that identify the various agencies and know exactly what those agencies are doing. So when there is a need arise, you can address that particular agency and say, well, hey, this is something that has come up, and we feel that your agency is better suited to deal with that particular problem. In addition to that, I think that we should not lose the interests of men. Even they themselves may not have interest in whatever it is, but seek at all time to initiate some aspect to bring men together. And we can look at that. For example, there was a strong group of male at one time that served in the war. They were very active. When the leader died, and it's kind of dismantled. What are some of the groups that are around that we can go to? We may not be able to give them financial support, but your information, your advice, and your support to them generally for their sustainability can help. So these are some of the small steps that I think that we can look forward to. Above all, the media, they see it, they believe it, whether it's true or not. They see it and they behave just like what they saw. And so therefore we too should take a page from that and learn, and to be able to utilize the media in as many ways as possible. Write to them, ask them for community or public service, free public service announcement that may deal with men issues, women issues, abuse issues, etc. And forget about what people may think, that you're trying to create a name for yourself or what have you. The fact of the matter is that you're doing what God has called you to do with the mission. I want to thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. I will go before Apostle because he opened his to end. I want to revisit Malachi 4:6. He will return the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers. Since we're trying to, this is our end goal. Our call to action, to me, is we need to remain praying with interventions until something is standing before our kids start standing before the judge. So the 10-year-olds, the 5-year-olds, we need to target the St. Lucian kids who are hurting, who are psychologically and physically and spiritually locked in the prison van. We need to do that. And I really want to thank you guys. I'm very honored to be sitting with some great people, especially Mr. Evans, and that you guys took time off your busy schedules to come and sit with us. It's just the beginning of something. There will be 2 follow-up sessions leading to Father's Day, but so we're hoping that we have an all-male panel, maybe young guys like you suggested, Mr. Edwards. But I really want to thank you and the public and everybody who's partaking, or just supporting us this evening, for just being with us. Guys, a job well done.
God, thanks and praise.
So again, I want to extend thanks to Melissa and Mr. Edwards, likewise, and also you, Cher. I want to extend thanks.
You're welcome.
I think again, this is just the beginning of many things to come, and we really look forward to again a collaboration in accomplishing the task, because again, it's beyond just your social work, it's beyond Mr. Edwards, it's beyond me, it's beyond Cher. We must come together to make it happen. And this is why we speak about the restoration of the hearts of the fathers back to the sons, and the hearts of the sons back to the fathers. Fathers can be in the house, but if their heart is not in the house, and if their heart is not directed towards their sons, then there is a problem. And so what we look forward to is having the father's heart directed towards the sons and also towards the daughters, because we're not just looking at the sons, we're also looking at the daughters. So when the father's heart is in the house, he becomes more defensive, he becomes more protective, he becomes more influential he again becomes the mentor or the hero of that son or of that daughter. He becomes the hero in the house. And so we are indeed grateful, and we pray today, we believe God today, that the hearts of the fathers were out there, and those who also play the role of a father. Because again, there may not be a male man in the house, but there may be a woman who is assuming that role, assuming that responsibility. There may be men out there who are not the biological fathers, but they're taking up the responsibility of standing. You're not a stepfather, you are a father. You stand in the gap, you support that child, you stand with that child, you stand with that family, and you have done well. I want to say to the men, those who have done well, you have done well. If you have not done well, I'm saying to you, you can do well, you can do better. There is much hope. There's a lot of avenues, there's a lot of places that you can go for help. And we have started this program here, we started this broadcast here, and we are believing God that those of you who are hearing it, those of you who are listening, that you're going to speak to a man, that you're going to support a man, you're going to strengthen a man, you're going to strengthen someone who's in your house or within your vicinity, and let them know that, hey, you can do better. Not just on Father's Day, not just in the month of June, but throughout the years, throughout the days coming. So again, we thank you for tuning in, we thank you for being a part of this broadcast. We do appreciate you, we do honor you, and we say thank you again. We are going to be back here next week, Wednesday, for restoring the hearts of the fathers back to the sons, and the hearts of the sons back to the fathers. We are also going to, some point in time in the program, we're going to have some law enforcement policemen. We're also going to have a former minister on this platform also. And we're also going to be having a former gang member, former gang leader, not just a member, but a gang leader, who's going to come in and going to share from that perspective. So we indeed are not done yet, and God is not through with us. There's a lot of stuff that is happening in our island, in the Caribbean, and crime affects everyone, no matter what walk of life you're part of, no matter what industry you're part of. Crime affects every single one of us. And we are not here to alleviate crime, but we're here to make life better.
Yes.
Amen. So again, we thank you for tuning in. This has been the voice of not just Greater Works International Ministry, but Melissa, Cheryl, and Mr. Edwards, along with myself, Apostle Mason. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful to God for you. So thank you again for tuning in.
I think we need to say thank you to our audience, patiently sat there listening to us, and our online audience also, but we need even more to thank Amma and her sister and her mother for the idea of having it as a panel discussion. So guys, we know there's so much hard work that went into this, and LJ, the entire crew, as usual. So we thank you immensely for this opportunity. Thanks for your help and everything else. Good evening. And good night. Redemption.